Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Give and Go podcast. You can find us on all social media platforms, but let my co-host, the host with the most, Jordan Taylor, tell you a little bit more about that.
Hey, how you doing, Raj?
Hey, I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Let's give the internet what they came here to receive. You want to find us on your social media platforms. You can check us out at Facebook, Twitter, or SoundCloud. We even got a YouTube channel now at Give the Letter N Go Podcast. Don't forget, Google Play Store, Podcast Addict, and wherever you get your podcasts on iTunes, you can find all of our sound waves on every platform for your listening pleasure. Raj, what do we got on the list today for the pod?
On the pod today, we are going to break the people off with a little bit of retirement talk. Then we're going to jump into some major news coming out of Los Angeles. And then we're going to give a little playoff preview leading into the weekend here. We got game one of the Eastern and Western Conference Finals series starting on Saturday. So, without further ado, Jordan, let's talk about some retiring players. We want to give a big give and go shout out to Dirk Nowitzki first. My boy Dirk, he has been doing his farewell tour. He finally gave his indication that he will be retiring at the end of this season. Played his last game. I think. What do you have? He have a big game. Do you got any thoughts on Dirk Nowitzki and what he's meant to the game?
Dirk Nowitzki, double on his final game. I gotta say one thing. I've been very Dirk nostalgic this week. I've been doing a lot of video searching. I found a video of the 1998 Nike World Hoop Summit. And we got our boy Dirk with the fresh mop top with the undercut, looking like he's 20 years ahead of his time with the almost Magic Jordan look. And the boy dropped 33, 15, and with 4 steals to boot on a USA squad that had no idea what to do with them. And I mean, we got to really understand that what Dirk did changed the game, especially from his size perspective. You know, how many times at the very beginning were there bigs that play the way that Dirk does based on the way Dirk brought that to the NBA?
Yeah.
There wasn't any shooting bigs when Dirk came in. Like, that's huge. And not only was it the fact that the shooting bigs weren't even existent, now they're almost, you have to be a shooting big to even make it to the league. That is crazy how much he's affected the game with the ability for him to score from the high 2 block.
Yeah, I think he really revolutionized the power forward position, which was thought to be, you know, a muscular guy fighting for rebounds, scoring in the low post. And he really now, with his wide array of step backs and fadeaways and his 3-point shooting, he revolutionized the game and the position. And you know, he was the one that took down LeBron's initial super team when he led the Dallas Mavericks over the Miami Heat in the first year that the Heatles got together. So he cemented his legacy. You know, former league MVP, NBA champion, multiple-time All-Star. Dirk Nowitzki will definitely miss you, man. It's sad to see him go, man.
So what's your favorite Dirk moment before we move on? I mean, like for me, really, just that 1 foot janky ass looking step back fadeaway that I think a lot of people. I almost credit that with the way we look at step backs today, with that extra step from the guard. But Dirk was just doing it on 1 foot. Do you got any comment for that, my man?
Yeah, I mean, people are still trying to emulate that shot. You know, very few can. Kevin Durant, I know, is one of the few guys that has that in his arsenal. But that Dirk Nowitzki fadeaway, it's like an unstoppable move. There's nothing you can do except just pray it doesn't go in. And again, like I mentioned, my favorite moment is when he led the Dallas Mavericks, the underdogs, to a victory over the Heatles back in what I believe it was 2010 when they all formed together. that was definitely my favorite Dirk moment.
Man, the Hedo takedown is probably one of the most prominent points of Dirk's career, because you look at that team compared to the team they faced in Miami, and to beat the Heatles in that first year with the entourage that Dirk had is a huge testament, considering 3 or 4 years before that these guys were first round fodder, the Dallas Mavericks. Huge accomplishment.
Everyone thought they were done, man, and he proved everybody wrong, and he's an inspiration. But Jordan, speaking about the Heat, let's talk some Dwayne Wade. You had a lot to say last time talking about Paul Pierce is better than Dwayne Wade. Nope. All this nonsense. D Wade dropped 25 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists in his final game of his career. Got the triple-double and rode away into the sunset, almost in style, before he tripped trying to climb up onto the announce table at the end of the game. He had to take 2 on that. But D Wade, Wade County, is also retiring with a triple-double in his last game, Jordan. What you got to say about that?
The Heat lost and got eliminated from the playoffs. I think that's what really frustrates me.
Yeah.
Is because I think everybody and their grandma wanted to see playoff Dwayne Wade in his final year.
Yeah, he's still the best player on their team despite his age.
True.
It's unbelievable that they were not able to put together a season for Dwayne Wade this year to have him send out. I mean, my statement still stands. I think Paul Pierce played too long in the NBA. I think he retired way too late. I'm gonna go a little bit on a limb here. Farewell tours. Still not a fan. Obviously Dirk and Dwayne, very prominent characters from my childhood. Same with Kobe and the Kobe farewell tour. But I mean, like who gets the farewell tours and who don't? And obviously, that's why some people get a little butthurt, aka Paul Pierce. But guys, I get it. You're a prominent guy, but your team's not playing well, and you're not gonna make the playoffs. What are we doing here, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's almost very showy, very showy.
Yeah. I found it kind of interesting. Wade did get his farewell tour. Paul Pierce, like you mentioned, may have retired a little too late. His final career of his game was 0 points, 0 assists, and 0 rebounds. Rotting on the bench with the Clippers. So he might have done himself a little more favors if he had retired a little sooner. But I think Wade did it his way. He knows he could still play a couple more seasons, but he'd rather keep his legacy intact. He's going out in his own way. I can respect him for that. Dwayne Wade is one of the greatest. I'd say he's a top 50 player all time for sure. And he's done a lot for this game. Do you have any favorite Dwayne Wade moments?
Yeah, I mean, favorite Dwayne Wade moments for me are the post-Shaq eras, where that team wasn't very successful, but Dwayne Wade just went off. This is a guy averaging 30 points, unstoppable at the rim. Dwayne Wade didn't even have a three-point shot at that point in his career. Obviously, very clutch guy, can hit the three, but didn't need to because of the flash, his ability to get up and get to the hoop. Just some rim-rocking moments from him. I mean, obviously, I like Dwayne before LeBron, the pre-LeBron Heat days. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's that iconic photo of Dwayne throwing it off the backboard and no look running away with his arms up as LeBron just absolutely stuns on the rim.
Yeah.
Just stunts on it. But I like the individual accolades more than the Heedle accolades of Dwayne Wade. And I think that really will stand the test of time as how great a player individually Dwayne Wade was.
Okay, yeah. For me, I used to look at Dwayne Wade and I used to try to emulate some of the moves that he would do. And, early on in his career, when he won his first title with Shaquille O'Neal, when he'd be driving in towards the basket and then he would turn, do a 180 and run into the defender and then just throw up this shot over his shoulder and bank it in with getting the and one foul. I used to try to emulate that in high school basketball. And oh my god, for some reason the referees did not blow the whistle and give me a foul call.
What?
So all I was doing is running into defenders and throwing up wild 360 layup attempts that would just absolutely brick off the backboard. And I got an earful from my coach. And I looked over at him and I said, "But coach, Dwayne Wade gets those calls." And my coach told me to sit my ass on the bench.
Yeah, rightfully so, my man. Rightfully so.
And from that moment on, I learned that D Wade, he's a special dude. We don't all get that kind of treatment, and we can't all finish those wild shots.
No.
But D Wade, I respect the hell out of you, man. Big shout out to D Wade, who's been an icon in this game of basketball for sure.
Yo, I got one thing for you with D Wade. Do you like cornrow D Wade in this last couple seasons here? Was this a look that came on way too late in his career?
Yeah, he's way too old for cornrows. Those are corny at this point, man. Those are way too corny. He's got to just keep it fresh. He had the fade. He was looking fine, man.
I don't know, man. I'm a big fan of the cornrows. I really am.
Nah. Yeah, it's something you gotta do when you're young, man. He's too old for that, man. D-Wade's got some kids that are getting ready to come into the league.
So, we've covered the two iconic members retiring. Raj, I want to bring up one more oldie but goodie playing this week with our sick, wicked, nasty stat line of the night. You got our boy Jamal Crawford dropping over 50 points for the lowly Phoenix Suns like he wasn't even trying. Now, we don't even know if Jamal Crawford is retiring this year, but even if he did, man, what a way to go out for him. That was nice. You got anything else to add to our Jamal Crawford fans out there?
Yeah.
There ain't no Phoenix Suns fans right now.
Just a shout out, man, that he became the oldest player to drop 50 points in a basketball game, surpassing Michael Jordan. So, shouts to one of the greatest scorers that this game has seen. Just pure six-man scorers. That crossover is nasty.
Hey.
All right, Jordan, you ready to give and go?
Let's give and go.
Basketball, the Sixers are ready to give and go. NBA, give and go.
Yo, welcome back to the Give and Go podcast. It's your host with the most, Rajan Sharma, and I'm here with my co-host, who also has the most, Jordan Taylor.
But if I have the most and you have the most, does that make us equally most, or is one of us less most than the other most host?
I don't know. How most are you right now, Jordan?
Bruh.
I am the host with the most.
Alright, before we get the listeners too uncomfortable, let's talk about some basketball.
Hey, sounds good, my man. We got a lot to go over with one little but yet monumental news nugget dropping this week before the playoffs started. Raj, what happened in La La Land this week?
Well, as the title of this podcast says, the Lakers' magic runs out. The Lakers' magic ran out. And Magic ran right out that door mid-game before the season even ended. I'm talking about Irving Magic Johnson, who held a press conference during the Laker game that happened, the very last game of the season, and he impromptu stepped down as the president of basketball operations for the Lakers. Not only did he do this in an impromptu press conference, he had not even told the Lakers owners that he was planning to drop down and resign from his position. they found out the same time everybody else found out, which was live in the middle of the game.
What?
Jordan, please make some sense of this.
I think there's a lot of sense to what Magic did, because once you realize that you made a mess of something so bad that even you can't fix it, and you are Magic Irving Johnson, the only way to go is out. That's it. There ain't nothing else left to it.
You just gotta leave.
You just gotta leave. Magic said some pretty interesting things during the conference that this media conference he brought on. One of them being that he felt like it was his responsibility to teach the youth, and as the youth reached out to him, his responsibility was to teach them the game and to give them insight to his abilities and his skills and knowledge that he has developed over the years of playing and being around the NBA. And with this new role with the Lakers, this didn't allow him to be the mentor that he thought he wanted to be. He specifically brings up the tampering issue earlier in the season with Ben Simmons and how the media, quote unquote, made Magic into a villain, even though he went through what he said was all the proper channels, all of the proper documents, and motivations were very clear what the meeting was about. It still caused problems in La La Land. So with that being said, I think this is a better role for Magic. I think the way he did it was absolutely hilarious. This has got to be one of the best I quits I've ever seen in NBA in recent history.
That was hilarious. God damn.
Like, fuck y'all, I'm out. Like, we're done here. Like, that's all I need to say.
Man, it was cowardly. I thought it was absolutely cowardly of Magic to not even face Jeannie Buss himself to tell her. He's like, oh, I value our relationship far too much. I couldn't risk, tainting that relationship further. It's like, well, what do you think you just did by randomly walking out on her? Do you think she's just gonna be happy with this? Nah, man. I heard his comment. He's like, oh, man, I was having so much more fun when I was just a fan. Yeah, well, no shit. Of course you were. You didn't have all this pressure on you, Magic. Come on, man. I thought you could handle this. Is this another case of the LeBron curse? LeBron, Magic spent 9 months on this job, and all of a sudden, boom, he's out. Like, is LeBron automatically now promoted to his position? What do you think here, Jordan?
Yeah.
I mean, LeBron has to be president. That's just what it is. There's no other. Who else is going to be president now?
Yeah, nobody else qualifies.
That's right. No one else qualifies but LeBron James. That's exactly what it is. I'm really shocked because Magic Johnson has played in LA and been a part of the LA media and the fan bases there. But why is it that now this time around he can't handle the scrutiny and he can't handle that sort of publicity that I think was very prominent even back in his earlier LA days? Maybe because he's not as a respected figure anymore. But let's be honest, Raj. The decisions he made as the president of LA Lakers basketball, they were not good. They did not put the franchise in a successful position to build or in a successful position to win. The greatest thing that Magic Johnson did, which is still not quite confirmed if it was the best idea at the time, was bring LeBron James to LA. And the worst thing he did was trade D'Angelo Russell for Kyle Kuzma. Which, you know what, I'm still not even that mad about. I still think that's a good trade, in all honest opinion.
Yeah. Can I go off on him for a little bit? Can I go off on him for a sec here, Jordan? Like, I got a lot.
The LA Lakers group.
Yeah. So I made a special appearance this a little earlier today on the Clubhouse Sports podcast, and I brought up this point as well on there. They stumbled upon Kuzma in that deal. It was like D'Angelo Russell's salary dump for Brooke Lopez and a second-round pick. They're thankful they got Kuzma in that deal. They didn't re-sign.
Agreed.
they did not re-sign Brook Lopez, who has now become this like revolutionary stretch five for the Milwaukee Bucks, who's had a great season. They didn't re-sign Julius Randle, who had a career year this past season in New Orleans. They traded away D'Angelo Russell because they thought he wasn't going to be that he wasn't a leader, which he turned out to be one just fine in Brooklyn. And on top of that, the only thing that they did well is land LeBron James, after which they surrounded him with players that are just toxic in locker rooms. They brought in JaVale, they brought in Beasley, they brought in Lance Make 'em Dance, which I love Lance, but come on, man. You do all this and you bring in Rondo, who, stirs the pot as well. You put all these volatile characters all in one mixing pot, and it all blew up right in their face. I think Magic Johnson leaving the Lakers is probably the best thing to happen for them. What do you think, Jordan?
I look at Julius Randle and his career year this year on a team that was going nowhere. I look at Jello. Jello finally put something together for a 7th seed. He was able to put something together for them. Brook Lopez, obviously, yes, today's NBA revelation, 3-point center, the 5th Splash Brother, or whatever so-called thing he says. I think that this was the right decision if Magic can't handle this sort of pressure. This is what being a president of basketball operations is all about, making the tough decisions. Raj, is there any way Magic can come back from him exiting the burning tire fire that he created in LA and gain some respect? Is there anything he can do at this point? Because honestly, for me, I've lost a lot of respect for Magic Johnson for walking in, doing what he did, and then walking out.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat there, man. I wonder if he's going to actually get booed at Laker games now. The way that he exited, it was very classless, and it's just, it's a bad... The Lakers are just a mess right now. They're a complete mess. They're in shambles. It's not a good look for a team that's supposed to be a big storied franchise.
So first off, the coaching staff. Obviously, there's rumors came out that Jeannie Buss did give Magic Johnson the go-ahead to essentially clean house with the coaching staff if he felt so and rebuild fresh this summer. However, instead of taking that and using that as a scapegoat, he decided to leave, which may be more of a stand-up character role kind of thing if he had a relationship with Luke Walton, which it sounds like he did, players only kind of thing. However, I think the important thing to take away from this is what happens to that coaching staff that is there now, and who would you have replace Magic Johnson in that role next season, Raj?
Yeah, I think they got to find somebody with more experience in that position. They gotta find somebody that they know will get the job done, and has done it before. So maybe look for them to try and poach somebody from another organization. A rumor I saw floating around was that they were going to try and steal Masai Ujiri from Toronto. Or maybe they can bring Tim Leiweke back, He helped shape the Raptors into what they are. So maybe he can do the same for the Lakers. But whoever they bring in, I bet he's going to clear house.
I was really hoping for Brian Colangelo. I think this is kind of the perfect place for him to kind of redeem himself after the whole Twitter fiasco. There's not much out there right now that could really save this. I will say one thing, though. Is Luke Walton getting fired, Rush?
Oh, 100%. LeBron's got his way now. If LeBron's the president, he's kicking Luke out tomorrow. So, we'll see what happens.
Damn.
But, Jordan, that's all the time we got, man.
Hey, that's big news for today, man. With Magic Johnson leaving, it really opens up a lot of question marks and raises a lot of eyebrows in La La Land. And I know, Lakers being your second favorite team when they don't make the playoffs. Bandwagoner.
What do you mean? They've always been number 2. Kobe is number 1 in my heart. But the Lakers, they've been number 2 behind my Raptors.
All right. So, with that being said, this has been the Give and Go podcast. Now reduced to 20-minute segments for all the millennials out there, because our attention spans have been statistically rated as shorter than the people older than us who can't turn on computers. Don't forget, you can find us at Facebook, Twitter, and SoundCloud. Don't forget, we've got a YouTube channel now at Give the letter N Go Podcast. You can find us on the Google Play Store, wherever your favorite apps are found, including the Podcast Addict, and we're also on iTunes. Don't forget, we're posting content on the daily at basketballers.ca right now, bringing the internet, the written portion, to our sound waves, making sure that you guys have all the information you need to get the job done with your arguments for playoffs coming up. Now remember, kids, we've given you the information, now go do something with it. Give and go.
And we out. Until one more day, and we'll be releasing the next playoff preview podcast also this week. Stay tuned.